All
Gotta
right.
start somewhere.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys. So, welcome to the tournament talk. We're talking about the Wizards GT in Wichita, Kansas at Wizards Asylum games. I'm joined by the rest of you three who is presenting this particular podcast. We are unorganized as hell, which is part of our use. It's whatever uns you like to put in there: unpainted, unsponsored, unorganized. It's all that. I'm joined today by Adam, Ian,
Hello.
and Turd. We have a few more members that might jump in. When they come in, I'll introduce them. But we're going to go over the top five. We're going to start with this Leagues of Votan list that's got 293 points. So let's take a look at that one. If everybody could direct your attention to the Leagues of Votan list. So obviously Oathband here. The Broke Iron Master, uh, three champions, which is crazy. I haven't seen a three champion list yet. Three Sagittars, Zerkers, five 3x5 Hearth Guard, two Land Forts, and a single Pioneers. So, what do you guys think of that list?
That's heaps of things.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's crazy. 3x5 for the points going up. That I think that's wow. That's a crazy amount of stuff for points going up on it. Why would you split it into 3x5? And how is it doing so good? That's my question.
I think he's just using them for their secondaries.
Oh yeah, could be deep striking them in, taking secondaries with him. That's possible. But only
And
one
what,
squad of
use the
Hearth Guard.
vehicles for primaries?
Yeah, only one Hearthkin Warriors. So I wonder. I didn't actually, because I actually was up at the GT for the first round. Kind of watched a little bit of the first round, walked around, and I don't remember seeing this first round. I was watching the other Votan player. I think took a loss already. But I was actually watching a lot of the games, and I don't remember like where the broken Iron Master would have been. Just kind of looking through here. I'm assuming it's either like a solo unit or can that go into? Can one of you check and see if the broken can go into? I'm sorry, the Brokian Iron Master. Wow,
The
can go into.
Broken Iron Master.
Thank you, Ian.
You can
Correct
just
me.
say Iron Master and you'd
That's
probably
fair.
pick up
That's
on it.
that's fair. Does that go into the Warriors? Can one of you check that for me? Because I don't think it's going
Let's
in.
Warriors or Thunder Bros.
Oh, okay. So it can go into the Warriors. I wonder if he's putting the Iron Master in with the Warriors and sticking him in the land fort.
I
Seems
feel
like a
like
thing.
he's probably running them solo in that third Sagittar after splitting the other unit of warriors. Or the only unit of warriors.
Oh, okay. So it's warriors in each Sagittar, and then the Iron Master in a Sagittar,
A lot of people run the Sagittars with just a character inside to
just
hold
so they can
objectives.
extra Sagittar too, and then they just
Yeah.
drop the
Because,
character.
and gets a blade of wounds or whatever, right? Because doesn't he have a little posse with him or
Yeah,
something?
he
Is that the
does.
one I'm thinking of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one with the three cogs and the assistant.
So he's like a 5-man unit by himself.
Oh, also the Zergers could be going into one of the Sagittars. I guess it just depends on where you want what and how fast you need it to get there. Maybe that's what he's doing is just swapping around characters
Yeah.
and
I think
everything.
in most games I would do split the warriors, leave one group of warriors on the home objective, and send the other one up in a Sagittar
Yeah.
for their sticky.
And then like maybe he's putting a set of Hearthguard into like a land fort, or maybe two sets, and then deep striking one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now some interesting data. His matches, he went, undefeated, almost perfect scoring. First round, he fought against World Eaters, then Dark Angels, then Knights.
So yeah, that's the strength of schedule. There's, in my opinion, a little weak. Thoughts?
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just like it could be a skill thing because I know that like when you get into some of your first games, you can get some of your weaker matchups. So I think tomorrow we're really going to see this list put to the test. And one of the things I want to point out on this list as well is only one set of pioneers, so he's got to have something else that's scoring secondaries, or he's taking fixed. I wish that's some data we could see, but I don't think it shows up which one they chose on here.
No, I can't see that.
Yeah. But that first game, you said it was against, what was the list?
It was
World Eater?
against the World Eater list, who, let's see where that World Eater list is currently ranked.
Yeah, it's Angron, Karn, Invocatus, Jackals, Zerkers, and
Ranked
a bunch of
27th, that list, or at least that player in that list. So
I think the Dark Angels is the 10th who's running the Ironstorm Dark Angels.
Yeah, let's see what that.
yes,
That's Azrael,
Ironstorm Spearhead.
Tech Marine, Tech Marine, Tech Marine. So this is a parking lot list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably getting beat up pretty heavy because of all the amount of anti-tank that's now out there and not as expensive as it used to be.
And a lot more stuff.
True.
And
than this
amusingly
guy's
enough, a Knights list running a Castellan with a Lancer.
Castellan, yeah. Castellan,
And
Lancer, and
plus
a ton of
2 Helverins, 4 Warglaves, a Vindicare, and then some Voidsmen.
Yep. That's another interesting list. I hate that you have to take Voidsman to bring your assassins that you need. That change is a little upsetting, but you know, it is what it is.
I don't think you have to do that now. Not with the regular ones.
Is it not with
It's
Assassin's
only
It's
Chaos
only
Knights who
demons.
got
Oh,
hit
that's
that.
only
Yeah.
demons. Maybe
yeah.
maybe he's using
No
them
more
for objective
changeling running
holding.
around.
Gotcha.
He's just is it the Voidsman or is it the I mean that's just your cheap, like you either take the
They're 50 points, so it was
so
clearly
you
some
take them
sort
or
of
the
filler.
Inquisitor henchman to fill out your list.
So they didn't post pairings for tomorrow yet, which is probably by design, because I was wanting to see who he was going to get paired into and talk about maybe that matchup, but I guess we're not going to be able to do that. So let's look at this Adeptus Sororitas, because I think the other thing that just like throws me off about that Votan list is the lack of pioneers, and I think that that's like just weird to see, because those are typically what are scoring secondaries for me when I play Mev Votan. So, and they hold
just
the back.
have the one.
Yeah, just one. But
Probably why he split 2 of those. What do they call them? The Hearthkin.
Yeah.
Not the Warriors, but the Terminator equivalents.
Yeah,
Just so there's more squads to run around.
Could be the case. Definitely a lot of firepower there, and if one of them is deep striking, or you can, because you technically don't have to put anything into the big tanks. You could just deep strike 2 of them. But this next list is the Adeptus Sororitas. It says, okay, so new meta, question mark, is the name of the list. That's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at the name of the last list. What was the name of this one? Just
I don't
Votan.
know if the last one. Yeah, some of them.
Just
That's
basic.
what's dooming him in the future.
Come on, guys. Come up with some creative names. Anyway, so this is a Canoness, Missionary, Morgan Vol, Palatine, the Triumph, of course, 1 squad of Sisters, Immortals, Immolator, 2 Rhinos, Flagellant, 3 Crusaders, Death Cults, Exorcist, Warsuits, Novitiates, and Zephyrim. Gosh, there's so much. Oh, and a Calidus. The amount of stuff Sisters puts on the table, just wild.
That is a lot of models. I did not realize how cheap Sisters were.
Yeah, we're talking, and that's 10 flagons too, a 10-man squad. It's not just like a small like 3-man squad. They're running 10.
Crusaders are,
but only 1.
Right. But
yeah, I saw a lot of lists running like max, like I don't know, and not 3 exorcists. So
yeah, I think
that list is terrifying to me.
Yeah, I think exorcists are a little overcosted here, but like they must be doing something right.
I mean, they're just pounding out indirects, yeah. So
yeah.
What's getting me are the 3 units of 2 Crusaders, Because that's 25 points for 2 guys just to score you secondaries
Yeah,
somewhere.
so they score you secondaries. They can heroically intervene. They're not terrible in combat, and they have invulns. Their saves are decent. Like that's a good model for, what, 14 points a model, 14 and a half points.
You waste so much shooting at just 2 models that it's not worth it.
Yeah. And the same goes
And
for the Death Cult Assassins. Like they have
you
fights
ha-
first, and they just kill stuff if they get in combat.
but you have to, because if you try to dedicate one little weapon, well, they'll coin flip save and not
Yep.
die.
Yeah. So you can't split fire them because you have to kill them, and then you're wasting a whole unit's shooting into 25 points. Yeah, that's irritating.
Yep.
That is so funny. I
And
actually
then
love this.
so I think the flagons go into the immolator because you want to get those guys up there and just burninating plus dropping the flagons off into the middle of the field just to annoy the crap out of somebody. And I'm imagining that your sister squad and your novitiates go in your 2 rhinos here. Palatine goes with the novitiates. And I imagine the missionaries going in the sister squad maybe? And the
Do you
canoness?
deep strike? Do those warsuits have deep strike? I
They
don't
don't have
remember.
deep strike, but I think that just to avoid them getting shot off the board, you strategic reserve them.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, and then they just walk on and blow something up. What was his? What was their strength of schedule like? What was their first game?
So they first went up against the Astra Militarum list.
An Astra Militarum list. Okay. What's the
Oh,
detachment on that?
Combined regiment.
Combined regiment.
It went up against the one with the Bane Blade and the 2 6 blobs of Bulgrin.
Yeah. So that game, it was a thrashing if I remember correctly, because I was like I said, I watched parts of that game, and when I walked around, the Baneblade was having a hard time getting around GW terrain, and it's just like I think when you go to anything bigger than like your standard land raiders, you're asking for trouble on GW terrain. Uh,
yeah.
turd, turd. I know you were running. What was it, the Astraeus or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever take it to a tournament on Leviathan campaign terrain?
Yes. It deploys and it can move about 3 or 4 inches left or right, so I can get 2 lanes of fire, and that's about it.
Yeah, I imagine that the Baneblade's a very similar thing.
Yep.
However, cool thing is, they talked about it at the beginning of the GT here, and they said the walls that are like the 2-inch high ones, they can actually drive over those with their tanks. Now it does
Yep.
Ah.
typically take moving up to that wall, and then the next movement moving over the wall, because
So
because
that's
you
all in
have
the
to fully
core
clear it.
rules.
Yeah.
It's in the core rules. We just weren't using good terrain until recently.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that one, terrain has improved in our local meta, and two, like, just being clear that that is the height of that wall, even though there's some points where they're a little taller than 2 inches technically, and then you technically couldn't drive over it. But making that statement early on in the tournament, I think, is really important for the play on those bigger models.
And that's how he moves his Bulgarian around too. So like you need that unit, to be somewhere to like sit and tank stuff. And if the Baneblade can't get there, then you're gonna be in some trouble.
Yeah, and I think that, like, all in all, the Militarum list is just a little too slow to deal with the amount of sisters that are just flooding the board because they're just bodies everywhere.
Yep.
Like stopping the green tide.
Hmm. Which is funny because you say that, like, because there are a bunch of orc players, but the other thing that, like, tide that runs tides, we don't see any Tyranid players today. Um, and I think that's because the amount of time it takes to set up Tyranids, and there's no in between time. At this tournament, they didn't allow for like 30 minutes of like setup time like they would at like a major or something like that. So I think that's kind of the difference here, is why you're not seeing a lot of like horde armies, at least not as
Which
Yep.
is
big of horde armies.
interesting, for there are 3 orc armies in the top 10.
Yeah. So Matt Neely with Flying Monkeys, he's, I think, the top one of those, correct?
It's actually just above him. Nathan Blankenship from Warhammer Anonymous brought an orc list too.
Crazy. They're
In
both
6th.
2-1, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
So
with the with Nathan's army being, it's a 180, and then his loss was 72 still. So a high scoring loss.
Interesting. High scoring loss. I wonder what that was too. Wow,
We'll get
they're
to that.
6 and 7, just out of top five. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll look at that here in a minute.
The second army the Sororitas went up against was the new Drukari
Sorry.
Strike Force, the Sky Splinter Assault.
So this is like my like the army I wanted to talk about when we got to that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to that now. So I want to talk about this list just for a minute. I'm surprised it lost, honestly, because when I watched this list play the first round, it went into World Eaters, which, to be fair, that's probably a pretty easy matchup for this list. But it's two Archons, Drezar, uh, Lilith, two Kabalite Warrior squads, three Kabalite Warrior squads, apologies, witches. It's one, two, three, four Raiders, two Venoms, Incubi, Ravager, Reavers, and a Tantalus. So,
Oh, they have a Tantalus in there.
yeah. So I watched the first part, or the about mid game of the game for them into World Eaters, and it looked like World Eaters were just gonna get in and do what World Eaters do, and then all of a sudden Drakari pop out of their transports and just cleaned house, um, which was pretty neat. Unfortunate for the World Eaters guy, because he did send a packet 8 bound into a raider and left it on 3 wounds twice. So
Oof.
yeah, it pretty rough. But so when I was building my like what I have in mind for a Drakari list, it wasn't like this. It's actually like Venom spam. And so when I was talking to him after the game, I was like, "Why so many raiders?" And he was like, "Dark lances. That's really it." And I was like, "But don't you think Venoms are a little easier to hide on GW terrain?" He's like, "I don't want to hide. I just want to run at them and make them go, wait, why are they running at me?"
And apparently that worked against everyone but the sisters. His scoring was 148-82, with the third one being a win. So
Yeah.
those sisters went circles around him, apparently.
And I wonder what caused. I wonder who went first on that, because I think if the Drakari player goes first and controls tempo and blocks the sisters out of everywhere, then maybe it's a different game. But I could be wrong. Like, I just don't know.
That's one I would have loved to have seen. Two armies maneuvering just a lot of models around.
I
Maybe not
wonder,
a lot on the Drukari, but the
because it's
sisters are just dropping people everywhere, and that maybe they couldn't kill them off fast enough as well.
Or they're just dropping all their transports, the Drukari's transports, and then they can't get back in them.
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out if maybe I can figure out who went first, but I don't know if it's in here as public knowledge or not. What was the name of the sisters player? Can you remind me?
The sisters player was Colin K
Colin K.
of
Okay.
Big D Energy.
Mhm.
Colin K.
He's got a lot of vehicles too,
Yeah,
so we
but
can
like,
move block with them.
there's nothing like big gun wise. Maybe he was just shelling them with the Exorcists.
Yeah, and the
Cause
flamers. I mean, they're super weak, right? Like all their vehicles, like none of them are like
They have
that
Meltas
beefy,
on those
right?
war suits.
so
Oh yeah.
actually, Drukari went first in that game. So
Drakari
Hmm.
went first.
yeah, I'm not really sure what would have happened there. Cause like if you think about like how that happened, so maybe like he pushes up, overextends, because he was just playing World Eaters. And he pushed up heavy into that game. So maybe he
Yeah.
pushes up and overextends, and sisters are just like, yeah, that's fine. We'll just deal with you with some Archiflagants, and maybe the dice were more on the side of the sisters player this game.
Part of me
Yeah.
wonders how much of a coin flip this one was. Was this one where Invuln saves frustrated the Drukari to death, and they got some good rolls with, like you said, Archoflagants?
Yeah,
Flagellants?
yeah, that could have definitely been the case here. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wanna maybe we can like get one of them on here and we can talk about it in the future and see what happened in that game to see why sisters just kind of like took it to him so heavily. Anyway, so next up on the list is Death Guard though, which is like in my opinion, like the one army that like people kind of underrate still. So let's take a look at that list real quick. So we've got Putrefier, Putrefier, Blightspawn, Blightspawn. Well, we didn't see that coming at all. Lord of Virulence, which is different. I'm not used to seeing him out. And then Plague Marine, Plague Marine, Plague Marine at overcosted Plague Marine costs. But one of them is a five. Yeah, two 10-mans and a 5-man, so that's interesting. Three Rhinos, Death Shroud Terminators in a 3-man, Crawlers, three of them, and Nurglings, Brigand, Brigand. Okay, so this isn't your typical Death Guard list, but it's pretty close.
Now they
So
used to run 3 brigands, didn't they?
used to be three Brigands when they were I think like 20 points cheaper. And
10. Yeah.
10 points cheaper. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to you used to not even need to bring your Plague Burst crawlers. Like it wasn't a thing that you had to do. Other thing I see here is there's no Mortarion, which is interesting choice considering the ruling change or update, I guess if you will, that Mortarion's aura allows all of the Death Guard touching it to ignore modifiers. So
Mm-hmm.
On an unrelated note, only 2 Necron players.
right, but one of them's in the top 5 now, so there's a good possibility that this list plays into that Necron's list, and I'm pretty sure that Necron's list is running 2 Catans. But we'll have to
Oh,
look at that here in just a minute.
We'll see it when we get to it. Yeah.
So like this is just doing what Nurgle does. So the two 10-man bricks, I'm sure I've got both of these characters in it. They're running the Putrefier and a Blightspawn for the grenade strat on top of fights first. Just
Mm-hmm.
that's what it does. You just stick them out there and you say, okay, come get me. And if you don't, I win the game.
And is undefeated. It went from fighting Black Templars to the Imperial Knights list, and then one of the Orc lists.
Yeah. So I think that like when it comes to Death Guard into Imperial Knights, because that was first one was Black Templar. So Black Templar is a tough matchup for anyone right now because it's so good.
Where
Was
did
that
that
the flame? Was it a
particular...
Flamestorm or was it Gladius detachment?
It was a Gladius.
Yep. So that's like the standard. Like this is the good list right now, and it's bringing Sword Brethren, right?
Let me check how many things it has in there. Yep, we got 2 units of Sword Brethren. 3 units, excuse me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of Sword Brethren. I'm just trying to find out, where did this particular list rank?
Yeah.
Because I did not see any Black Templar rated that highly.
So Adam,
Oh, that one's an 8.
you're in the process of building your Black Templar, right?
Correct.
Okay.
This Black
Sorry,
Templar did not
one of my kids
score
came down.
particularly well, so I don't
Oh,
know
what
what to
was he
chalk that up.
running? Yeah.
He's running three
was
bricks of Sword Brethren.
this is
3
the
5-man Sword Brethren. None were reinforced.
which one is this? What's the name?
Well, the name is frustrating. It is the numeral 1. Their name, however, is
Yes.
Stephen Heitmeyer
Okay, so he's the 17th. There's also one that's
of
in
Flying
8.
Monkeys.
But I
Rule.
was the thing about the Death Guard, I don't know. I looked at it real fast just while you guys were talking, and like I figured he would have taken, since he had the Lord of Virulence. Now I'm just confused, like would the or I just have a question. Would that influence the indirect if he had taken it on the Brigands as well?
So no. Ooh, actually, let me check. Let me think.
But he didn't take it on the Brigands, so it wouldn't really matter. But I was just wondering, like,
Wait, he's
because
not
I
take. He doesn't
figured
even have the indirect weapon.
no, on the Brigands he doesn't. No,
That's
he's got the
crazy.
Stubbers. Yeah.
Huh.
Huh. Are the
Is-
brigands the ones then, or is it the armigers that have the indirect?
Oh,
I
Brigands
think
can have the
yeah,
Havoc
Brigands
launchers,
get the Havoc
but
launchers.
they have Havoc or Stubbers.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Chaos Knights is a reason to run one or the other, but here I have no clue why.
Yeah, like why would you, unless he's
He's
doing
just
something different with them?
Yeah, maybe that's just like his frontline unit, and he's using the stubbers to like clear out trash. I don't know.
Because the other
Well,
piece is that spear.
Yep, which
it
is
does get
anti-vehicle.
1 AP on the stubber for shooting at something next to it. So the
Mm,
reasoning I could see is rather than trying to mortar something, just using it as a 2 up to hit, strength 5, AP1 machine gun.
oh
Yeah,
my God, this guy has 5 impulsors in his Black Templars list.
5.
I didn't-
That's a parking lot list if I've ever heard of one.
He's
Okay,
got a
so I see why they
Redeemer.
lost to a Nurgle list. They played in their ballpark.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
5 impulsors,
I did not audit this
two
list.
assault intercessors. He's no Helbrecht, no lieutenant. He's just running captains.
So I think that the problem with this Black Templar list is that it's all the overcosted units
Hmm.
and no big names in it to like make it go, okay, this is what I do. Whereas like the big unit, the big thing that we're seeing with like the ones that are winning, it's like one big squad of sword brethren
Yeah,
in a land raider or something with Hellbrick. I think that that's
yeah,
the main
that's what
difference.
the I'm looking at the 8th place guy. He's running. What is he running? He's running Gladius
Hmm.
and Helbrecht with. He's running 2 Redeemers with 1 big brick of Brethren with Helbrecht.
Yeah, and I think that that's just a little bit more of an effective list right now.
Mhm.
Just all in all.
And then he's got aggressors in the other one with a biologist.
Hmm. Hmm.
This
Yeah,
is, yeah.
aggressors with the biologist, that's pretty common. Uh, yeah, I don't think that that's a bad idea. But the Lord of Virulence is definitely going with the Death Shroud Terminators, dropping
Mm-hmm.
in and giving all of that indirect,
Line of sight.
the ignores cover stuff. I think is what it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he
So
has line of sight. Yep. Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Then the
Um,
Death Guard played into the poor Soul Knights list.
Soul Knights. What?
Soul as in the single Knights list there.
Oh, there's only one Knights player. I didn't realize
Yep.
that. Okay.
Well, there's one Knight, but there are 3 Chaos Knights.
Well, that makes sense. I think
So what, Preston, what aura do you give your Death Guard if you're playing Black Templars?
Black Templars.
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember right, like Black Templar aren't bringing like all the invuln in the world, right? That's not really
Just
their
feel
thing,
no pains. Yeah.
right? So I think that into Black Templar, you just run that -1 toughness, because I think you have enough
Okay.
AP that it's not a real big deal. So I think you just because well you already might get the -1
You
toughness, so
get,
maybe
yeah,
it's the
you already get
AP.
that. So the hit.
Yeah, I think we run the AP reduction because like just or the AP add-on. So I think that's the idea. Same goes
I
for
was
like
just
most
curious.
things.
They
You
don't have
it's like the
tremendous
default.
armor or toughness, so yeah.
Yeah. That's like the default unless it's like something weird that has a lot of invuln and then you kind of change it up from there because you're like, what does it matter if they're on their invuln already? You know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
You just play them, so I was curious what you used.
yeah, it's typically just minus AP is like the standard thing, and then like sometimes I switch it up depending upon what I'm playing against. Like for knights,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be on their invuln most of the time anyway,
Yep.
unless it's like a bunch of big knights, and then it's like okay, well I need the AP to force them onto their invulns. So just just standardly AP.
Gotcha. All right.
and
That's
and then the
interesting.
real big thing is just throw grenades, okay? Like that's the big thing. And when you go up against anything that's like parking lot and you have like the ability to throw 2 grenades every turn, it's huge.
Yeah, we had that conversation before you hop back in the Discord a little bit ago about remembering to use your grenade strat.
Heck yeah, man. It's super important. Uh, Now we have the Custodes. So
Yeah,
Casey Horton, I want to say, Flint Hills Reavers playing Custodes
I,
here.
I love it. I love that list.
Points drop question mark? Hadn't noticed. That's the name of the list.
It's just plastic. It's just plastic. That's all it is. It's 3 guard, 3 wardens with leaders. That's all it is.
So
It's awesome.
I'll go over it real quick. It's Blade Champion, Shield Captain, Trajan, uh, guard, um, in their standard deployment style. Wardens. Calidus and a what is that? What's Lord? Who is that?
That's
Draxus.
Draxus. So you get you can stick her with a battle line unit. So you put her with a guard, and then on a 2+, she gives them loan op at 18, and then she has an indirect gun and another gun. So when they're with the guard, they get reroll wounds on objectives. So you have a guard unit that is loan op at 18, rerolling wounds with an indirect gun and another gun. That's like ridiculous. She's really good. I used her 2 weeks ago, and she's ridiculous.
Nice. So what are we doing here? Where does Trajan go? Guard or does he go with wardens?
Well, probably with the wardens. So the other three leaders go with the wardens to get the bonus, because you have to have a leader in them to get their -1 damage
Okay, so we're going
ability.
one in each of the warden squads. Then
Mm-hmm.
Draxus goes into a guard squad. There's no
Mm-hmm.
tanks here. Nothing
Mm-mm.
that you see on these typical other lists where you're bringing like a tank or some kind of like what is their equivalent to like a dreadnought. There's also no bikes here, which I think is for the best. I think the bikes are still overcosted, which is
They're
funny to say.
terrible. They're terrible.
And then
They're fast, but they don't have any. I mean, they got the basic Custodes defense, but they're for the points. They're just not any good. They still just die like in a turn because they're so fast.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm not overly familiar with Custodes, and it's not because like I don't have any interest in them. It's just like they were almost like unplayable after the
Mm-hmm.
shadow nerf to them. So like just
Mm-hmm.
seeing them kind of come back is gonna be interesting because I got a lot to learn, especially when you said this is what Draxus does, and I was like, never heard of it.
Yeah, I've been playing them like since. I mean, that was like my first army to play of 10th, and I've been playing them even after the nerf. So, um, like they're like this is just like you're not gonna beat me on primary. That's what this list is. Like you got to figure out how to beat me like another way because I'm denying you primary for, the whole game. Because the Wardens are just gonna sit there and pop their abilities, and you probably got I don't know what else they take. They probably take like homers or maybe engage. They don't have any Terminators, which is kind of weird to me, but I like the list. Like it's super simple and it's like really good at what it does, Like if you kill if you eventually kill their wardens off an objective, like they'll just move up the guard unit that's behind them and sit on it too. Or the guard just sits on it with the wardens and rerolls wounds on anything. So it's a cool list. I like it. Simple.
Now, something I get to talk about are the first two matches that Custodes went up against were back-to-back demons lists. This gives me something to add on here, and poor demons going into Custodes, one after the other.
Yeah, they're not gonna kill them.
Starting with the one I dislike the most, the Slaneshi Monster Mash. And a theme that's going to crop up on the second one as well. I don't think Demon Monster Mash is the way anymore. Or rather, you should have something with your Monster Mash.
Yeah, so is that like Bellacore Keeper?
Yeah, it's Bellacore, Keeper, Shalaxi, who is probably not worth the points, as wondrously killy as she is. And then the Mask of Slanesh, plus the strangest one for me, 3 units of 5 Seekers each.
Yeah, so
Seekers are not going to achieve anything out there. Custodes just effortlessly killed them, I imagined.
what's the points cost on Seekers?
They are 80 points
80
for
points
5
for
models.
5 models. Okay. I mean,
They
that could be
are
why. Maybe they're just
they are
dropping them in to
cheap.
score points. Or that's the idea.
They're just so fragile that it's one of those things where they're fragile, but they're a full unit of demons. I think they're even at 80 points. I think they're a little expensive for their profile.
And they've got what? Are they on the 5-up invulns? So they're not even
They are
coins up?
on the 5-up invuln, which
Yeah, they're
is really squishy.
yeah.
And if I can
And
pull
do
up their
demons even
stat,
have any shooting really?
yes,
Soul Grinder and
Lords of Change.
Lords of Change,
Did
Kairos.
they take any of that stuff?
Oh,
Not a
they took
single one.
all Slanesh. And keepers, I don't think keepers have what it takes to be the monster spam. They're fast. They can do a good amount of dev wounds and they're harder to hit, but they just don't have the strength to really get those wounds
So
pumped out.
I think one keeper with the upgrade is good. Like
Yeah.
so she runs in, she kills a model, she heals. She heals every time she kills a model, and that's just really good.
And you equip her with the Shining Aegis, and you have something that'll stick around.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I can see that. I don't see taking 4 keepers.
Yeah, and you're right. Shilaxi is crazy overcosted. Even if she kills 2 units of custodies here, which is unlikely. But
Yeah, they're not killing anything.
yeah, exactly. And that's the problem is like Shilaxi's what, 450 now?
450 points.
Yeah.
100 points more than Bellicor.
So if she kills 2 custodian guard units, like the big unit of custodian guard, she makes up for her points. If she only kills 1, then she was a waste. And the chances of her killing 1 is the chances of, okay, I'm probably gonna line Trajan up instead and run Trajan right into her and just say bye bye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while she gets to add or reroll wounds and hits against character units, her dev wounds don't matter as much when you got your army roll back. Custody is good for you.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
big
like
time.
this is just the worst matchup for Shalaxi on top of her points being way overcosted. I think that I mean and we haven't had a chance to talk about like what we were thinking, but I think if you're gonna run Monster Mash right now, Great Unclean Ones are the way to go.
I would agree with that. And we'll go to the second Monster Mash Demons list that they ran right into. Was a way more eclectic list that I kind of love, and that's why it kills me to say what's wrong with it because I have to admit something. So the other demon one,
Yeah.
lovingly titled Demon Data Slate for all the discounts, runs a Bloodthirster with the enhancement, runs a Great Unclean One with the enhancement, runs a Lord of Change with the enhancement, and then a Scarbrand, Celeste, I believe that's how you say that, and the Changeling, 2 units of Nurglings, a unit of Plague Bearers, 2 Flamers, a single Beast of Nurgle, amusingly, and a Soul Grinder of Zinch.
All right.
So this is the
So
list I wanted to talk about. This is the real one I was latched onto.
this is like every flavor of the rainbow in Demons, and it's it's so fun to think about demons as you can get your rainbow sherbet out of them, but I just don't think it's effective.
Apparently, it
I
wasn't. Not into
love
custodies.
the flavor. They are rank, I want to say 19. Yes, they are at 19.
Hmm.
Just middle of the pack. They uh, so this list is entirely on dice rolls. It is so swingy. It has very little internal consistency. So the things I like the most. Love the Great Unclean One with the enhancement. That just doesn't die. Having played with it recently, into a guards list with 3 Great Unclean Ones, not one of them died.
Nice.
Uh, the Lord of Change with Everstave. Love that. That is actually one of my other favorites. I think Lords of Change are going to come back. I think some people are sleeping on them. They are very, very solid artillery pieces. Because with the staff enhancement from your zone, you have a strength 12, 9 shot artillery piece, essentially. With sustained hits D3 or lethals if you're punching into something strong enough to matter.
Yeah, I think Zinch right now is in a great place to be like, okay, I'm gonna take Corn Zinch, or I'm gonna take Nurgle Zinch, or I'm gonna take Slanesh Zinch as my 2 demons that I'm bringing to my demons list.
I think 2 demons is the way to go for like what faction you run in it. Because with what he did here, love me a bloodthirster with a great axe. That thing will kill shit like crazy. I'm gonna have to say something about one of my favorite demons. Even with the points drop, I don't know if you bring Scarbrand. For
Um,
305 points,
I think
he's just too slow.
I think Scarbrand shines inside of a mono corn list, but outside of that, I just don't think that he's worth it either.
In a monocorn list, he's a lot easier to justify.
Yeah, because like then every corn demon gets +1 attack, I believe. And then if you're
Yes.
bringing like the whole Rin Master combo where you're bringing, all that extra damage too, and Bloodletters are just walking up on like I think it's like AP 3, 5 damage a swing. That's just nuts.
it's it's
Nuts.
wild. And the other unit I wanted to shout out in this list, the one that my new favorite soul grinder, I would say, the Zinch one, with
Hmm.
because it benefits from the strength aura of the Lord of Change. Its
Hmm.
weapon becomes strength 13, and now it's wounding vehicles on threes.
I think
And it does a D3 shot, D6 plus 2, EP like 3 or whatever gun.
yeah, Lord of Change, Kairos, and like a Soul Grinder, Zinch, all in the backfield is just a crazy amount of like strength. And then if you add some flamers in, it can just get ridiculous if they're all in range.
I think this list would have really benefited from replacing Scarbrand with Kairos,
Yes.
and maybe you just end up floating the 15 points even because Kairos, or would you get? I'm wondering if you could somehow squeeze another unit of Nurglings out if you replaced them. Either way, Kairos in this list, who also benefits from the Lord of Change aura, an indirect strength 10 weapon is really, really rude.
Yeah, exactly. And
That is
now
rude.
the Plague Bearers, you said there were Plague Bearers in this, right?
Yes. Only one unit. I'm leaning more towards Nurgle myself, so I would put more in there.
Did the Great Unclean One bring a bell?
The Great Unclean One did not bring a bell.
Hmm.
Bile Sword and Plague Flail went with the default loadout, and I'm actually warming up to Bile Blade too. The flail doesn't feel great to use.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about like what's the best way to go about that. And I think like if you're bringing one and you're bringing the bearers, you just bring a bell because I just don't think any of the other weapons really are that good. Because that's not what the Great Unclean One's there to do. He's just gonna stand on an objective, and if your screen can just stay alive longer, it's better for him anyway.
That's why I also think bringing more than one unit of Plague Bearers is great. You get to fall back on reviving a unit if the whole thing were to die off.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, all right. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about for that demons list, or?
Only that maybe if you replaced Scarbrand with Kairos, you could do something about that lost puppy, that lost Beast of Nurgle. Replace it with something that's actually doing something. I love
So
Beasts of Nurgle,
it's
but
so
one
funny that you
single
mentioned
one.
that because I was watching the game and that Beast of Nurgle, it stood on in one of in one of his games. I think it was the first game that he was playing. It just stood on the center objective for 3 turns. It didn't
Oh
do
my
anything, but
god.
it didn't die.
Okay, that's amazing. I take it all back. I love him.
I'm just like watching this Beast of Nurgle with like a bunch of stuff in melee with it, and I'm like, why is that thing still there?
I
It wasn't
they
holding
have
the
the
objective, but it was definitely tying things up.
Okay.
they have the funniest ability of healing every phase.
That's
So
so gross.
maybe you add a second one. Maybe you double down on the dog decision. I don't know.
Yeah, it
But then
was.
now you want to bring the snail. This is a real give a mouse a cookie situation.
Oh man, can we just like get a snail, get like 6 beasts of Nurgle, and just see what that does? I want to see it now. Come on, come on, get your snail
Have a
out.
snail and 3 of them. Gotta get 3 more beasts.
What an expensive model, too, for like what you get.
Yeah. Poor
Anyway,
demons.
anyways.
GW, final note. GW, give demons. You've given us great love and data slate. Give us new demons. That's all I ask
Oh,
for.
okay, okay. Now you're getting greedy. You got like one of the biggest armies, short of like Space Marine armies. Anyway. All right, so the last list that we're going to go over here is the Necron list. Now this is piloted by one of the Flying Monkeys, so one of the host team's players. And like I said, I was pretty sure it was running at least 2 Catan. So we've got Nightbringer, Void Dragon, Hexmark Destroyer, the Silent King. Oh, it's got a third one, Transcendent Catan, Swarm, Doomsday Arc,
3
Doomsday Arc,
Doomsday Arcs, huh?
Doomsday Arc, Locust Destroyers. Okay, and it's running inside of Hyper Crypt Legion. Wow.
Okay, well, I see what they do.
Yeah, so this is just a bunch of big stuff. Um, and it's just the goal, I'm assuming, is shove the middle with Catans and shoot the crap out of stuff.
Yeah, this one's almost a stupid proof list to me. I don't play a lot of Necron, but I recognize all these lists, and so 3 Doomsday Arcs will just obliterate all infantry.
So,
And then you have the Catan just eat the big stuff that tries to wander up.
so my concern here is this list goes into, let's say, um, the Custodes right here, and it's gonna eat the Custodes. I think that like Custodes just get beat up by the Catan, like the Catans hold their ground, except for when Trajan touches them, because Trajan ignores that. But like the goal here, I think, is Doomsday Arc, just shoot Trajan until he's dead,
Mm-hmm.
and then just throw your Scarab Swarm out in front of it uh, to tie him up, and then just fall back with your Scarabs, charge him again, and explode in their face. Like you just keep hitting Trajan until he's not there, and then you have nothing left to worry about.
So the
Yeah, the
match is. Oh,
Custodians
go on.
can't lose anything. Oh no, we have a resident Necrons player. What's he think?
He's not in
Ah,
here. He left.
he has dipped,
Oh, he
unfortunately.
left.
It is his bedtime now.
Um,
Oh,
so
I
that's not
set
one of
that
the
up
top
poorly.
lists. But then if you look at like the Death Guard list, there's no Mortarion to stop that Catan spam. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Plague Marines punch into Catans well enough to be like, oh yeah, that's a good matchup. Now, especially when you have 3 of them. So like I think he's in a good spot to win the likely next matchup, because those are the next 2 above him, right? So he's got Necrons, so it's Necrons, Custodes, Death Guard. So he's in a good spot to play into either of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's also pretty much in a good spot to play in the Sororitas. His biggest game that I think he fears right now is probably the Votan.
Which is really interesting. He has played against one Votan list already in his second match.
Yeah, and that's the
Now,
Votan match I was watching in the first round. What was the score on that game?
the score on that game, let's see here.
Don't sisters have some play into Necrons?
So Sisters play really well into the typical Necron list, which is either
Mm-hmm.
like Wraith spam or like
Mm-hmm.
teleport jump around monolith game, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I don't know how well they play into I just brought everything that's really big, and
Mm-hmm.
I have like a lot of anti-infantry, well, not anti-infantry, but Doomsday Arcs do really good into infantry.
Yeah. I mean, this sisters list has a lot of vehicles too. And can't they ignore modifiers? Like, don't they have a strat for that or something?
I'm actually not sure
I
on that.
thought they had an I thought they had an ability. Hang on, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I thought they had an ability to like I haven't, I don't really have experience with sisters, but I thought they had some way of ignoring modifiers. I'll check. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. And I
The
think
score
the
difference, by the way, was 88 on the Necrons, 66 on that Votan. The
yeah.
one loss that Votan army sustained, by the way.
So I think that Votan list was bringing 6 Thunderbros, and I watched him in the first game roll his Thunderbros and get like out of 6 of them get like 20 shots on his D6 shots, and
So,
that's just a sad day. Like there's
So
no fixing that.
yeah, it's just that's unfortunate. And
the
well, while he
sisters have a no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was
Let me
gonna
know
say
when you're
while
done.
he won that game, like there were times where his dice were not on his side. So if he carried that over into the next game and loses to the Necrons here, I think that could be a big reason as to why. But what were you saying about the sisters?
1 CP battle tactic. Until the end of the turn, your unit can ignore any or all modifiers to characteristics for a
Interesting.
CP, and it's a battle tactic.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's the
Um,
thing, because
it
that could
has to
be,
be below starting strength though.
yeah. Which
So
that
yeah, it has to have
means,
lost 1 unit or
yeah, one
model out of
one
the
model.
unit. Hmm.
So maybe that actually does pair well into Triple Catan. So maybe that'll be a harder matchup than I anticipated.
Shout out to the first game Necrons played against. My favorite, I don't know what to call it, flavor army. The House of Rot is the name of the list. It is a Chaos Knights list that brings Rotigus.
What was their demon ally to get the battle line
Oh,
in there?
Nurglings, of course.
Nerdlings? Yeah, of course.
We're gonna see a lot more Nurgle allies, given that if you're gonna take demon allies, you'll take Nurglings, and then you might
I
consider throwing something
so
else in there.
much. That irritates me so much that they made, because I play Thousand Suns and they're like, oh, we're gonna fix demon allies by making it that you have to take a battle line. So like Death Guard,
Demon's too
okay,
spicy.
Chaos Space Marines, okay, like Thousand Suns, like oh crap, we got to take Blue Horrors now, like. Oh, that irritated me so much, but whatever. It's forcing me to just add more rubrics, I guess, and characters, so no big deal.
This is why I give my bid to GW to make more demons, because they've now freed up design space. They don't have to fear. Just don't make the demon battle line, and you can make something wacky.
All right.
That's
So,
fine. Our changeling just keeps getting passed around, so it's
What
good.
I find interesting is the Chaos Knights lost with 87 points against those Necrons.
yeah, 95-87. Yep.
So it was a close game, evidently.
Well, so first their first uh part of the tournament pack was for it to be high scoring first round, so that hopefully it would help to separate the field a little bit more. So if they had like middle of the pack matches, they would be middle of the packs, and all the top ends would be top end games, and it would really create that separation from top to bottom. And that was the point of the first round of the tournament, was to really push that limit. Um, so they picked that particular mission on purpose to make that like be where your high scores would be real high scores, your low scores would be not as low as you could see in a first round.
Which,
That's
as a
cool.
brief bit of confusion, maybe I'm not understanding the ranking. At 27, there's a World Eaters list that went 36, 51, which was the win, and 21. And right below that is a Chaos Knights list, also 2 losses, 1 win, but 73, 50, 100.
Um, could be
How is that?
strength. It could be strength of schedule, maybe.
Huh.
So maybe his 100-point win was against like the Eldari. I'm not sure, because that could be
Mm,
like a tiebreaker feature within the game or within the thing.
mm.
So
Oh dear. It
so
was. It was. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. It was against the Imperial Fist. Oh, the second to last one.
yeah, so some kind of like strength of schedule or something like that could be going on here. Hard to say.
I see.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
Because
interesting to know.
Best Coast does weird things. I've learned that the hard way. Um, but like, who's your favorite in this top five to finish out the tournament? I think we have 2 rounds left in it. Who's your favorite to take this tournament right now, guys?
Well,
Mm,
my favorite personally, because it's so weird and brings a bizarre flexibility. I'm kind of rooting for the Sororitas.
Okay.
I think yeah, I really like the sisters list, to be honest. I think it's good. I think it has something to go into everybody.
Mm,
Um, I don't know enough about Votan, and just from like what you're saying, it's a little there's like maybe some questionable decisions, but we really don't know what he's running. The sisters list just looks like super versatile to me. Like essentially it has something for everybody, which I think's pretty cool. I'm rooting for the
Got a little
Custodes
something
list.
for everyone.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Custodes list, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think Custodies
it's
are going to have
rough.
some hard matchups here. I don't
Yes,
think it's
real hard.
impossible. I think it's more difficult. But if there was a Custodies list that does it, it's six
hmm
infantry.
Yeah, I mean it's
Just
just like it's idiot proof. I love it.
yep.
I I feel myself rooting against that Necrons list. There's just something about it. It feels like a
It
bully.
it makes me angry to look at a Necrons list and be like, hey, this isn't the thing that we're supposed to be seeing.
It's just
And
like three massive artillery barrages
Three
and
Satans.
then a bunch of Catans, the Silent King. There's no infantry whatsoever. Just
I
a
just
couple scarabs.
I just wish that that Necrons list hits the Drakari list and goes, oh gosh, you have like 80 Dark Lances. Well, that was fun. And
I
then
really
Yeah,
wish the Death Guard list brought
that's
Mortarion
run
because he's
again.
gonna run into that Necrons and the Necron won't be punished.
So I think the Necron list into the Death Guard list is interesting, but I don't know. I think it favors the Necrons. I think Mortarion's a big ask for people right now because he's still just kind of a noodle when he doesn't want to do it.
hmm
He's like
Yeah.
Yep.
he's
I
like
know it's a
cost efficient,
very
but he's
very
still a
specific
noodle.
interaction with him, but
Is
Yeah.
he
man,
like? So would you consider him just to be like strictly a support piece, more or less?
So when he does what he wants to do, like what you want
hmm
him to do, great. He's an awesome model. He does work when he goes online. But then like half the time he just kind of sits there and then like takes a lot of shots and dies. And it's kind of the worst. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna charge you into something that you should easily kill, and like half the time he
hmm
doesn't. And you're like, huh?
Um,
Because like
he's
it's
like the
he's
opposite of Magnus, essentially, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
he
Sounds
well,
like.
so like Magnus has this thing where he's like when I touch it it dies. But like
Yes.
Magnus also if he's like if he's positioned poorly, he
hmm
dies. Whereas
Yes,
Mortarion
I
like
realize that.
most of the time he just walks out there and he stands there for like 3 turns and then he dies. Cuz
Okay.
it's like okay, cool. You have this really cool weapon and it just doesn't feel like it does what it needs to do.
Yeah, I've heard it described as a wet noodle pretty often.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if anybody stands a chance of like winning, and is already in a good enough position to do so, I think it's the Votan list.
hmm
Just because he has everything he needs to beat anybody else on the list.
Okay.
Um, I don't understand the play of the list. Like I wish that I could go watch a game of this particular list playing and be like, oh,
hmm
now I understand why the choices here were made. Um, because like maybe he's going fixed, and I don't know what the plan is because like in my mind it's like Votan plays tactical, but in another piece of my head brain there's like maybe there's a place where Votan's like yeah I play fixed objectives, that's a thing I do. So I don't know. I wish I could have watched his game more and not the other Votan player. Not that I didn't like that game because it was good to watch. It was Votan Custodes, and you know that was a really good game. But I wish I would have stepped over this table and been like, huh, that makes sense now, or it doesn't. You know.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with the Leagues of Votan player. I know you guys both kind of are thinking the Adeptus Sororitas, uh, and then maybe Necrons just make a run for the top is kind of the other thing because like maybe it just doesn't hit anything that stops that because it's a weird
Mhm.
list. So
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is, and
weird
like
stat
you're,
checklist. Yeah.
it is, but like I like what you said about the Drakari because, like, I was thinking when I was playing my Eldar the other day, like vehicles, like like if I have bright lances, like vehicles don't really bother me that much, like I can just they're gone, like I can just delete them. So if you're running like all these just big, one model units, like lances will just eat those up.
yeah. So two
Catans are
things
what
to know here.
concern me.
Like when you look through these lists though, there's one Eldari player right at the
Mm-hmm.
very bottom of the list, and
Mm-hmm.
there is 0 CSM players. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that speaks a lot to like how bad CSM got hit, and we just don't have. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of Eldari players in our meta. I think we have two now, with you included, like in our local
Working
meta.
on it.
So
Building some right now as we're talking.
but like just looking at this Eldaria list, it's not even close to like what I would consider to be. Wait, what does this
Is
say?
it? Yeah, look at
Wizards
his list.
GT. I started playing in Rogue Trader days. He's older than some dudes here. I should
That's
be
exactly
good, but
what he
I'm
said to
not.
me.
I love the
Yes.
name of this
This was the speech I was given when I played him.
My favorite two
And
words are Eldari reroll.
Shout out to this guy. This guy knows
he's
what's up.
he's a great opponent, I will say.
I
He
should
was
be
very
good, but
fun to
I'm
play
not. That's
against.
so good.
This
I will,
is
on the very bottom, I will roll double ones back into double ones with full rerolls on my fire prisms.
he's changed his list up a bunch too since I played him last.
Okay, so we've got like I just want to break this list down real quick, just because
Okay.
there's no reason I think it should be doing this poorly, and it's not to say on the player because the player he's better than he thinks he is. He's just
Yeah, he's good. He beat me.
so he's just funny. He's got the Way Leaper, which I mean is just an auto include for most Eldaria lists anymore.
Mhm.
Avatar, Death Jester. This is a weird choice. I don't hate it, but it's weird. A Farseer, Defender. So Guardian Defenders, which I mean that's your generation for points or for fate
Fade
dice
dice.
now. Fire Prism, Night Spinner, Shadow Spectre, Shroud Runners, Swooping Hawk, Warwalkers with 2 bright lances apiece, and warp spiders.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Maybe he changed it up because of the changes. Um,
So he was running before. He didn't have the prisms. He had double spinners. Uh, he had 2 units of rangers, no shroud runners.
I think Shroud
Um,
Runners are decent here. I think Shadow Specters are still good. Swooping Hawk's still good. The Warwalkers are weird for me. I like the Bright Lances. I understand what the point of these is, or
mhm.
what the point of.
I
Anyway,
think that's his like he stick. That's what he's trying to stick on a point to hold, because that's really all that he has that's tough besides his
and that's the thing
avatar
that I
with their
disagree with.
scout.
Like your
Okay, yeah.
Warwalkers aren't tough. They just
No,
die.
they're not. Yeah, they do. Their toughness is like that's why I'm not putting them in my list. Like they have an invuln, which is nice. And I think they have a 2 up, but they're only like T7 with like 6, 7 wounds or something. Like it's
Hmm.
pretty their profile's weird.
So
And once they're in combat, they're not gonna do anything.
like if your point is to like use these because they're tough, and you're
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm not running Wraith Guard anymore,
Yeah.
then just bring Wraith Blades instead. They're
Yes, yeah.
they're
Oh,
they're
he had
significantly worse than Wraith Guard, but like
mhm,
cheaper to a significant
yeah,
point, and they come
e-
back. You get recursion.
exactly.
So
Yep. Yeah, but the issue. So when I played him last, it was before the nerfs, and he had the 10 Wraith card and with the Spear Seer. Um, but like 10 Wraith Blades and a Seer is a lot more points than 2 Warwalkers. So like I think just trying to get by cheap, like I understand it. But yeah, what you're saying is maybe you take like 5 Wraith Blade and a Seer
so
and
my
stick them
problem
on a
with
point.
5 Wraithblade is they just die though. Like they just die and you
Yeah.
never get to bring one back.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought too, but I ran 5 Wraith Guard yesterday and they just didn't die. Like they just didn't die at all. Because you just have so many shenanigans. I mean, people can do it, but I think the blades are a little bit tougher with the invuln. Like you're never gonna get them below the 4. But I agree. Like I would much rather run 10. But what do you drop?
Fire Prisms. What are they doing for you? They get
Yeah,
what, one
exactly.
shot and they
Yeah,
miss.
and just keep the one spinner in, which is probably like we talked about before. Like that's probably all you need, just the one spinner.
Hmm.
Yep.
now
Drop the 2 fire prisms.
the
Yeah, that makes
unfortunate
sense.
list they first played into, by the way, the Beast Boss Beast Snagga spam orc list.
Yeah,
Tons
that's
of
not good.
Squigosaurs, tons of Beast Snagga boys, a unit of 4 or 20 Gretchen. Yeah, a unit of 20 Gretchen, another unit of 10. Like I,
Actually, like I don't hate the idea of just like, and this is like a full rework on this Eldaria list, just to be honest. But swap
Mhm.
out like basically everything, and you bring scorpions, you bring double avatars is just too good right now, because
Mhm.
it's just your most efficient points cost for big hitters. Um, what else? You keep the defenders, but I really don't care for them. But you have to do it, so it's fine.
Well, do you
There's
take? I think you take the defenders or you take Eldrad. You don't take both, even though I'm running both right now because I'm trying to figure out which I like better. But I think I like Eldrad better because he gives
so
you the aura from the Farseer aura
yeah.
to flip one
Downside
to
with
a
Eldred though,
six.
not low knob.
Yeah, I know, but you,
So like
yeah,
you
you
run
can
into
start
that
him
sisters player,
start
you lose
reserves.
Eldrad immediately. Like turn one, he's dead.
True, true. But I think indirect kind of hurts Eldar regardless. So, what's the target? I mean, like, are they really going to target him? Because you automatically just get the rolls. Like, what's to say they don't target your guardian defenders with indirect? They don't have lone op either. So, if they like wipe those on in turn 1 or 2, you got what, one extra fate dice, and if you take Eldrad, you just get three right off the bat.
That's
And then
fair.
if he gets lone ops, he's already done his job. So, or if he gets indirect, he's already done his job.
Yeah, that's fair.
how do Eldar deal with hordes?
I don't know.
Um,
They got to take like the shuriken guns that do like tons of hits, but like you don't want to take those like too many because then you can't deal with vehicles. So it's kind of
so
weird. I
let
haven't figured it out yet.
let me back it up a month or two, and say they hit him with night spinners and then they don't get to
Hmm.
move. That's how.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, that's
So
pretty effective.
yeah,
Well,
now
you
how
had
do you deal
three
Post
with them?
night
that,
spinners. You had three
how do they
night
deal with
spinners
them
then.
now?
Yeah.
Something that you don't see right here, but I think is just like a good conversation piece. Like, what if you just said, I have 11 jet bikes with
Yes.
shuriken catapults and cannons on them,
Hmm.
and you just like, okay, now all of those orcs that are in that truck are dead, and it's or no, I'm sorry, you run scatter lasers, just run scatter lasers, and you get like what, like 100 shots out of a 10-man squad of bikes with a
And you
farseer on
could
a
put
bike.
those on the Warwalkers too. I mean, you can put those on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think that that's a
Um,
silly thought. Probably not the best thought, but silly.
but it helps, in
Kill a lot of orcs.
It could, or it
the
could do
Shroud
nothing.
Runners have them too,
Shroud runners could, yeah. So you could
but
just
you just got to
run
take a few.
like I see a point where you run like two sets of shroud runners to deal with that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
also like only one squad of swooping hawks here, which is probably not the best idea. Only one squad of warp spiders. They've gotten more expensive, but that's your point scoring, your screens and stuff like that. I don't know. This is I think he's trying to figure out what he's got that is still good, and maybe this was a limit test for the fire prisms, and it just didn't pay off probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I have a lot of the same stuff, and I'm trying to figure it out too. So
Yep.
it's hard dealing with hordes, and like you said, like what do I give up, but still am able to take like enough spiders, enough swooping hawks, enough. I mean, he's got two. Did he have two specters? I mean, but
Yeah.
just your scoring stuff, your stuff that can like move around and score you points. Like there's like a fine line. Do you take two avatars? I mean, they're great, but that's a lot of points.
Yep. I think fire dragons are a good thing. Reapers are looking decent. I don't think
Yeah,
that they're the best.
I
Uh,
was not impressed.
yeah, I think they look decent, and I think that like falcons are good now because they deep strike. So you
Yeah,
can
they're
put
really
stuff
good.
into. Um, I don't know. Lots
But
lots
you,
of
you
things that are still very good, but not nearly as efficient.
and you can't get and you can't get something for everything anymore.
Yeah, which I think that was the point. Like you just don't want,
Yeah, it's good.
but Eldari are still taking GTS. It's not like they're completely crippled. I haven't looked at any of the lists of any of
No,
the GTS that they've taken since the balance update, but it's still a very effective army. It's
like
just not
three.
oppressive.
Yeah, three falcons full of dragons seems to be the last one. I think was the big winner,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I don't even know if they took either of the avatars, but
Yeah.
interesting stuff to look at.
Yep. And then CSM. I feel like the legs just got cut off of CSM. I think that they are just. I think that
Yeah.
they're going to be bottom of the. Not bottom of the barrel, but I think they're going to be close. And there's going to be a lot of rework
Damn.
that needs to be done for CSM
Acknowledgements to
players.
the other faction who didn't appear. Admech. Pour one out for Admech.
So
No,
my problem
it
with
wasn't.
like that is like AdMech do something super well that nobody else does, and maybe we'll get to see that. Maybe our AdMech player will change their mind on that, but we'll have to see. I don't want to spoil it in case he decides to actually put that list together and put it on the board. So we won't talk about that just in case.
Ah, so there's a surprise tool for them later.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you guys about it after the stream. How about that?
Well, see, hey, I'm fine keeping it a secret till then. I want to see it firsthand.
I do too.
CSM, meanwhile, I don't know what they do. I guess they have some solid stat lines.
Yeah, so like
Someone
now
will
it's just
figure it out.
well, now it's just like Abbey Brick. You just run Abbey Brick, and it's still good. It's just it seems super points inefficient, and it's boring. You
They
put
got oh,
Abbey in the middle, and he doesn't die. Okay, that's fine.
that is the biggest killer. It's they got a lot less interesting with the
Yeah,
nerfs.
yeah. And then like, what's the other thing that they do? They just don't die. Like, in their packs or whatever it is like still good. They're still a good army. It's just they're not fun to play anymore, or they're not as easy to play anymore. Let's put it that way.
Not as
Yeah, you
interesting to
can't just
play.
shove stuff with lone op like up the board and then pop it out and murder everything anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and they changed the distance on that lone op, which is good because 12 inches for you to just say, "Oh, you can't shoot my Forge Fiend," was
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty rough. And Forge Fiends still scare me. Like they're still a good weapon platform. So all right. Well, I'm going to wrap up the stream here. So good luck to all these players, and great job so far. I mean, I know I was up there, and Bam is putting on a great tournament, and he's a great member of the community. He has his own podcast. So if you know what I'm talking about, check that out. If you don't, then look for it. I think that's like a Flying Monkeys podcast thing that they do. Otherwise, just check us out in the future. You three will present more stuff on stream here. So have a good night, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Where's the end stream button?